Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for TWiT specials is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com. This is a TWiT special, episode 61, recorded January 13th, 2011. Make. So let me see here. Okay, from left to right, we've got Gareth Branwyn, who is the author of my, I think, second or third book. Just has my picture on it. Gareth did all the work.
I did all the work. You took all the credit.
I took all the credit. And by the way, you got more money than I did. So that's the most important
all right,
thing.
Well, now I feel vindicated.
That's the more important thing, Gareth. You got paid. And Dale Dougherty is a publisher of Make magazine. And Dale, who's that on your right here? Tell.
Shawn Connally is.
Let's get a mic for Dale. Can we? Because there's a mic right over there, and we can pull that up. I don't know if it's connected yet. Should be connected. Yes, it is. I hear it rattling. By the way, this is in April. We're moving to a 10,000 square foot studio where we'll have a lot more room for this kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a little bit like a Chinese puzzle.
It is. It is exactly what it is. And while we're setting up over there, let's say hi to Mark Frauenfelder. You know from Boing Boing, of course. And I also the editor-in-chief of Make magazine and an illustrator. What I didn't know is he illustrated this book, The Guide to TiVo, which is great. Right behind him, taking a picture, is Sherry Huss. Hey, Sherry, with O'Reilly. And then we don't have a camera for Gretchen. So, Gretchen, you have to just move over. If you want to get in there, Gretchen says, no way, I'm not moving. So it's really nice to see you all here. Sherry does the Maker Faire. She's the director of Maker Faire. We should mention. And Gretchen Giles is publicity for O'Reilly. And now and Shawn is digital media for Make. What does that mean, Shawn?
It means I'm in charge of all of our online properties, like
I got it. I got it.
MakeProjects.com.
It's so great. You know what I thought was a great victory for makers everywhere? We were just back from CES, and Bree Pettis is there with MakerBot on the show floor. And it was so cool to see something like that amongst all the chrome and plastic and glass, something made out of wood.
Yeah, laser-cut wood box.
Laser-cut wood. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, it's really cool. It's like the best of both worlds. And that laser cutting fabrication method is really cool. And people are coming up with all sorts of neat new ways to join, flat pieces together into 3D pieces.
Right.
It's this whole new way to do it, which is really interesting.
Yeah. So what's the latest with Make Magazine, Mark? What are you guys up to?
Well, we have a new issue coming out.
How often do you publish? Is it just whenever you get around to it? Oh, okay. Sometimes it feels like it's whatever, we've got one. Oh, the Arduino revolution.
Yeah, so we have a lot of really cool Arduino projects.
Yeah, we're really fans of Arduino.
And this one, it's good because if you don't know anything about electronics, you don't know how to program, you don't even know what an Arduino is, you can get started not only programming it without even writing a line of code, but also building your own Arduino from bare components and showing you how to do it just from scratch. And then we also, we graduate, so we have more complex projects. One is making a really cool yogurt maker that uses Arduino to control the temperature.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah, first you have to heat up the milk at a pretty high temperature, and then you let it cool down to incubate. And then we have another one of taking like a 1930s telephone, rotary dial telephone, and turning it into a Skype telephone.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
There's the picture of that. Steve Wozniak walks around with a telephone like that that's got a cell phone in it. But I like Skype even better. I think that's great. So it's a PC in there, basically.
Basically. Well, it's got Arduino in it. And then the cover project is a really cool, simple project. That's a model rocket that once it goes up in the air, these helicopter blades pop out, and it rotates slowly to the ground.
Oh, man.
It's made out of paper towel tubes.
Yeah.
You know what I love, and I think that if you're a parent, you should think about getting this magazine and doing it with your kids.
Yeah.
Because this is, and you know, we did a show, Steve Gibson, who's our security guy, did a show. It was a great show about when he was a kid, he made something he called a portable dog killer. He was really in electronics. He got all the parts, and it was a subsonic sound that would not kill dogs, but get him out of the way, because he had a dog that barked at him every time he went to school. So he would point it at him, and the dog ran away. Nobody could hear it.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And he said, you know, this is making something. And he said, this is what we need to do. We need to think in those terms. Maybe sometimes it's software, but I think that we kind of have lost that physical making. That really, I think, is important. You use cigar boxes to make guitars, which I think is so cool.
I think, you know, for the last 15 or 20 years, creative, kind of geeky people have been so attracted to online and computers because it's just so alluring. And they've been, you know, basically creating the web. And now that it's been so developed, they're kind of finally looking up over their computer saying, wow, this world is like
there's a world. There's a physical world
platform that I can modify in the same way that I have been with bits.
And then all the tools and materials have become so inexpensive that people can now afford a computer on a chip to put on your yogurt.
Like the Arduino.
And the collaborative powers of the internet. There's so many places you can go and get the information that you need and collaborate with people, ask questions. So I think that's been a big thing that's fueled it. And yeah, Mark has a great theory that the reason why now all the hacker spaces are growing up is that when you're making code, you can send that over the internet. But when you make something physical, you really want to show it off to people.
You need a place.
Yeah, so now it's like, I lived in D.C. for 15 years before I actually collaborated with geeks in my town. All the geeks that I collaborated with was over the internet in California, like Mark.
Right.
But now, you know, there's a dorkbot in D.C., there's a D.C. hacker space, and so now all the geeks are getting together and learning how to communicate with each other.
And it's cool if you go to a place like hackerspaces.org, you'll see that these hacker spaces are popping up in places like Iran and Myanmar, I mean, all over the world, and it's a really cool way for you know, people to get together and do something creative and fun.
At Maker Faire in Detroit, Sherry, there was that great race. They were having races with they make race cars, drag cars out of those old electric cars that you had as kids.
The Power Series racing,
yeah. And it was so cool. And those are all hacker spaces that were competing against each other. And it was so much fun.
We're going to cover that in our next issue.
Good.
The next issue is on called Carts and Wheels, and we're going to be covering that in that.
Oh, I can't wait to see that. Dale, was Make your idea? How did Make come about?
Well, I think I developed it, but it's really based on seeing what people were doing and just saying that people were hacking.
The time had come.
You know, and I just saw people that dealt with software were moving to the hardware level again, and this interaction between the physical world and the digital world was really interesting, and that, you know, it was the idea that we're going to take it off the screen and put it into the world. You know, that when you can get something to move or something to, you know, interact with you, like a robot, for instance, that's it's a new kind of thing, and yet it's an old kind of thing. You know, tinkering and a lot of these.
Well, it is. It's very retro, really. I mean, a lot of us grew up with dads that spent time in the garage. Right. Not me, but. My dad was a professor. It was all in his head. But a lot of people grew up with dads who were in the garage, who had wood shops or were working on cars. And it seemed like for a while we were in a software revolution, as you said, Mark, with the web and so forth, where nobody was touching anything. Right. I remember when I was growing up, somebody said, and I wish I'd listened to him, do something with your hands. Yeah. You should always have something that you do with your hands. Yeah. And build or make. And it is... It's a different part of the brain,
right? And our hands are wired to our brains in unique ways. So, you know, it is how we learn. And I think you mentioned this earlier, but I think in terms of education and with kids, there's something, you know, essential here that I feel real strongly we're trying to get more kids doing this. Not only just is it hands-on in the traditional sense, but you're doing things, right? Instead of sitting there listening to someone talk, you get to build something. You are figuring things out yourself. How does this work is a great question, right? And you know, you don't want to just read an answer. You want to try it out and see what things can do, and then you come up with your own ideas, and you want to go out and say, hey, can I build something like this?
Right.
You know, and that's what we're trying to encourage through Make and through Maker Faire is everybody sort of seeing themselves as a maker, as someone who can take an idea, develop it into something, and then share it with their friends. hands.
We yesterday we had an interview with a woman named Jerry Ellsworth. She
we
is,
know her really well.
Of course you do. She's the ultimate maker, a high school dropout who designs chips. She was at Maker Faire in San Mateo. She's an amazing woman, and she said, and then this was that shop when she was in high school was deprecated. It was like, oh yeah, well if you're not smart, go do shop. Exactly. And nowadays in many high schools, shop is gone. There is nowhere to go, and so I think it's important that we kind of restore that.
I have this idea that we talked about in this Make issue of kind of a maker space that, like a shed that we could put outside of schools, like the way they're putting school gardens out there, and just like a place where kids could go and build things. And just, I don't know what the curriculum value is. I'm not going to get into that right now, but just to go out and
there's curriculum value
building stuff.
There's a lot of kids. Here's a
kind of pop-up shed.
Here's how you can make your own maker space. That's good. This is very meta.
Yeah. So
make your own maker space. Yeah, here we go.
You could print it out and
you print the shed.
Yeah. Well, it's put together basically the way that Bree's MakerBot is. It's
press fit,
cut plywood. That's
you're kidding.
Fastened together.
Wow.
Do it on a shop bot. Yeah.
Wow. That is really cool.
So it's kind of fun. Making is almost subversive today. It used to be something that was, hey, you wouldn't remark upon someone who could make something. Today, you kind of, hey, how come you're making that? You can just go out and buy it.
Somebody in our chat room did point out that software, if you've got a computer, software's free. You can do software. You don't need anything. You need the skills. It's just kind of almost direct drive from your brain. Making it requires a lot of skills, a lot of technique, and requires some hardware. It doesn't just spring out of nowhere.
And when you've done it, you really want to show it off. There's that sense of pride when it's been created that you really want to show it off to your friends. And
yeah, it's funny because I just never I never wanted to do that thing, and it was always that's why I liked software. But both can exist. We're not.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The point is to give people who want to work with their hands the encouragement that they can and should, and it's worth it.
Yeah, and it's an alternate track to learning. Traditional education, kids are basically being trained to be scholars and not much else.
Right.
They're learning how to research. They're learning how to report on their research. Making things is a completely different way of learning. There's a lot of trial and error involved. There's learning about materials. When you work on a project, kids are learning, geometry and other types of science almost as a side effect of being able to complete the project. So that makes learning those kinds of important subjects something that comes more naturally to them.
Yeah, yeah, I agree, and frankly, I think you get an understanding of science that's very different than the kind of Gedanken thought experiments that Einstein had. When you build something and you test something and it does or doesn't work, that's a very different experiential thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. This is fun. I see you have on. This is another issue, previous issue, current issue.
That's a special issue.
Special issue with of course the ultimate maker, Adam Savage. I think he's done a lot to promote making.
Yes.
Yeah,
with Mythbusters,
big fan,
right?
And we're a big fan of his.
He started as a set designer, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And so he, that's all about making.
Yeah.
Special effects. Yeah.
Special effects, all of that stuff.
We've got tutorials from him on mold making and just how to because he was making props.
Right. He's done it for
sets.
years. Yeah. Well, we're I was saying it's a little crowded in here. We've got I think more people we've ever had in studio to talk at the same time, more than we have mics, but. One of the things we realize is that physical space is important, and we are moving down the road in about 3 months on Keller Street to a 9,000 square foot studio, but we have a 6,000 square foot basement. And I've invited Jerry, and maybe I'd like to. Well, I'm thinking this should be a hacker space.
Yeah.
And I'd like to. What do I do? How do I make it a hacker space?
What do you do?
Just announce it.
But there's stuff
if you
in that
build it, they will
right
come. This is what I should do.
I should. There about how to
all right.
a hackerspace.
I think that's the thing to do is to have a Petaluma hackerspace.
I think that's a great idea.
And it would be really fun to have it be part of our broadcast because we could go down there
it could be a
and
show.
say, "What are you making?"
Yeah.
It's a show.
Absolutely.
I'd love to do that.
Yeah.
So, all right, you have my
Do it.
promise. That's what we're gonna. We were trying to figure out what do we do. What do we do with that 6,000 square feet? It's extra. It's the ceiling's too low to put lights in there. It's not. It's just you can't shoot really. But
you can put elves in there.
Perfect for workbenches. Just right.
There's a good article in there that shows you how to start a hackerspace.
Good. All right.
You need.
All right.
I think it's reaching out to the community and finding people that
there's
wanna do
people.
this. Yeah.
Don't you think? I mean, you guys. One of the things I really love is that O'Reilly and hence all of you guys, except for a couple of you, are right here in Sebastopol, not so very far away. And Gareth, are you in DC?
In DC,
yeah.
DC, yeah.
And Mark's down south. And why, Mark? Why? Can't we get you to move up here? You belong in Northern California. What are you doing in L.A.? Come on.
There's lots of reasons.
He likes the virtuality of LA.
Yeah, right. He doesn't have to.
It's
see
like living
anybody.
in VR in
It is. It's right. Do you use Skype a lot? I mean, how do you edit a magazine that comes?
Use Skype, and it's just email and
right.
Dropbox.
Nowadays, you don't have to be anywhere.
You really don't.
Yeah, no.
You really don't.
Yeah. So, are there digital? Actually, they're asking me, and I guess Shawn probably is the one to ask. Is this digital as well, Shawn? I mean, is most of the Make content online as well?
Yes.
And where do we go to see that?
You can get to it from makezine.com.
Makezine.com.
Makezine.com/magazine will get you to each individual issue.
Okay. So good. So you make this available. Anybody who wants to, most of the stuff.
We sell them as PDFs too.
Yeah,
that's nice.
And makershed.com is our store, online store, and we have all the back issues of the magazine in PDF format, and that is available in PDF format.
Oh, that's great.
Yep.
So you don't have to feel like because this is so Dead Trees, old school, right?
The Dead Tree edition.
The Dead Tree edition. So you don't have to do it.
The funny thing is, there's some history on this. We've actually just came from a meeting on talking about some design issues to make. But, someone wrote to us recently about that Adam Savage issue and said, "Oh, you changed your format. I'm so disappointed. I really like the smaller format of Make. It reminds me of Popular Mechanics of the 50s."
Oh, that's right. It's now full size.
Just for that.
This is a
Yeah,
special
just
issue.
for the special
we did
issue.
it as a test, and but Make really is based on the size of those older magazines, the digest size.
It feels like that's right. It feels like almost like a Reader's
Right.
Digest.
And those who kind of are familiar with it, it really sort of means something to them.
I think so. I like that fact form factor.
Yeah. Everybody of a certain generation, a certain age, when they look at it, they mention this is like Popular Science when I was a kid.
Well, that raises a question. I mean, is the Make movement older folks like you and me, Dale, or are we getting kids involved?
Well, I think that's the real heartening thing to me. I might have thought that it would have been originally older people like looking for a hobby later in life. Kind of
I'm retired. I think I'll make a printer.
But I'm really impressed by the number of kids we have in the audience, teenagers, and particularly you see that at Maker Faire.
I was going to say when you go to Maker Faire, it's full of kids.
Yeah,
and many of the makers are kids, which I love.
And they're excited to be doing this. So it's making is cool today, in the way that a skateboarding magazine is cool. It's showing them things that they can do that they kind of want to. Can I do this? Can I?
Right.
Yeah, but there's people out there doing incredibly interesting things. And every issue of Make, when I open it just say, wow, it's unbelievable how many different things we found out there. That people are doing, and they really are surprising.
Gareth, if somebody wants to get started, I see you have a Maker's Notebook. Is that a good way to start? But sketch out ideas and put them in a notebook?
Maker's Notebook is a project notebook with grid paper and reference material. And that was one of the projects that I edited.
Can I open it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, that's for you.
This is for me?
Yeah.
So it's for me to start, right?
Yep.
All right. So I better start putting some designs. Maybe I'll sketch out the hacker space in here.
Yeah.
Hey, there you go. Yeah, exactly.
In the back of the book has a bunch of handy information.
Tables.
Yeah, we have fun reference material in the back. Like we have weights and measurements and things and pinouts for.
Oh, that's neat.
ICs, but then we also have things like how much caffeine is in different caffeinated beverages.
Very important.
How to say hello world in a bunch of different programming languages.
Oh, this is
things you
neat.
need.
Oh, look at that. I love this. Now, what you need to do is give this to a few schools, give these to students and see what happens.
Yeah, we actually have given them.
That's
we
really
gave
neat.
Every class member a copy.
The Maker's Bill of Rights. Meaningful and specific parts lists shall be included. Cases shall be easy to open. Batteries shall be replaceable. I love this. Special tools are allowed only for darn good reasons. I love it. And then there's a crafter's manifesto. Well, thank you. This
we
is
actually
great.
have a thing on the back of how to cast your own heads for specialty screws using silly putty.
Well, I want to get. I'm trying to persuade Jerry Ellsworth to move her lab down to our basement. Maybe that would be
terrific.
Yeah,
maybe just visit anyway. She's got what did she say? 90 pinball machines now. I don't know.
I know her pinball collection.
It's kind of out of control. She needs somewhere with a lot of space.
Hey, Leo, something we're doing this Saturday, if I might mention, we're doing a Young Makers program at the Exploratorium.
Cool.
And
that's in San Francisco.
Yeah, it starts at 10 o'clock till noon. And we've been working with this year to set up small clubs in the Bay Area so that kids can get the experience of making something and bring it to Maker Faire.
What a neat idea.
And
I love that.
Organizing, club hosts and mentors and others for them. But every once a month, the third Saturday of every month at the Exploratorium, we have an open make session. Bring in some featured makers, and they talk about what they do. We have some activities and things on the floor to do, and then the kids are getting together to talk about their own projects and get feedback from other people. So,
is there a website I can go to find out more about this?
I'd go to the What?
Oh, youngmakers.org.
Sherry says
youngmakers.org. And there's a blog post that's still probably on the front page of the blog.makezine.com, which has the information about the upcoming event and links.
Great. Are you going to do this? Is the Exploratorium in San Francisco, but do you plan at other places?
We hope so. It's our second year in doing it, and we hope to expand it out to other areas. And we have interest from people at schools and other places in the country, just setting up a kind of after-school clubs and things to
There's
get
something
kids
cool
together.
about seeing a kid in a welder's helmet. I'm sorry, I just think that's great. I just look at that. I just love that. I think that's so.
Well, last year,
great.
I mean, the things they made a fire-breathing dragon, a group of kids, animatronic. It's just, and they learned to use fire, so it wasn't just an ordinary thing they did.
So when's the next Makers Faire and where? San Mateo, Sherry? May 21st and 22nd, San Mateo, California. You had one for the first time this year in Detroit and New York. How did that go? You want to keep doing those as well?
Fabulous, yeah.
So we're planning those or. Back in Detroit at the end of July this time at the Henry Ford.
And then in New York, our partner's the New York Hall of Science.
New York Hall of Science. Maybe in the fall. Yeah, you got to avoid Burning Man, but yeah. So later.
Hurricane season.
Hurricane season is what Sherry said. Yeah, she's more worried about that.
Balance here.
Well, I think that's really great.
Yeah, New York was really special. I mean, they were both really special, Detroit and New York, but yeah, New York was pretty cool. So.
How would you characterize it as different from the San Francisco or Detroit Maker Faire?
I think they all sort of have their really different character.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's all based on different groups of makers. I think the New York one had a little bit more aesthetic quality to it, a lot of art, and performance art, Arduino art, whatever you want to call it, and really accomplished, interesting things. Detroit's a bit more gritty and in a really fun.
I loved the theme of Detroit, which is kind of. Going from the makers of the 19th and 20th century to the 21st century.
Yeah, and there's
makers.
really something special going on in Detroit. So
it is exciting,
cool.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's really cool to tap into that.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't think, you think of it kind of as the Rust Belt, but it's not the Rust Belt. It's
busy.
Yeah, we had a great time. It was really fun. I want to do more of that.
Yeah, we'd love to have you.
We'll go to Maker Faire San Mateo for sure. We have the, when is it again?
It's the third weekend in May.
Third weekend in May. Yeah, I think we're actually looking for an event in May. We got it.
Yeah.
But I'll have to do the radio show from down there, so we'll have to work that out. But I think we can do that.
Yeah, no,
I think we can do that. That would be a lot of fun.
Get a slew of makers on there.
Dale Dougherty is the founder and publisher of Make Magazine. Is it makemagazine.com? Makezine.com. And that's Shawn's responsibility. She makes sure that's there. Shawn Connally. And Gareth too?
Well, I'm the editor-in-chief of the blog. Yeah, Make Online.
Make Online.
Blog.makezine.com.
Blog.makezine.com. And Gareth is an old, good friend. He used to do that. I loved, and I wish they still did it in Wired, the language column.
They still do the Jargon Watch column.
I
don't
love
do
that,
it,
but you don't do it. But I just loved that. It was so much fun.
Years,
That's a long damn time.
Yep.
And I was your editor on it.
Yeah, and Mark was my editor.
Really? Oh my gosh.
Wired, yeah.
So it all kind of
and then
mushes
Mark and
together.
I worked on Boing Boing Print together too. Before
Really?
Boing Boing Online, I was the senior editor of Boing Boing Print. Yeah.
Well, that's neat. Yeah. Of course, Mark Frauenfelder is, besides being the editor-in-chief of Make Magazine, is also one of the three guys and gals at Boing Boing with Jenny Jardin and, of course, our good friend Cory Doctorow.
And
I forgot David Peskovitz, too, so it's four. Yeah. And he makes cigar box guitars, which is so cool. Sherry Huss is
His album is coming out any day.
Which you got an album of guitars?
No.
I'm not that cruel.
We're gonna make you sing. That's the next thing.
He's not a sadist.
Sherry Huss is the director of Maker Faire. Thank you for coming, Sherry, and Gretchen Giles with O'Reilly Media. Yeah. And thanks, I want to thank Tim O'Reilly because I think he's also, in many ways, kind of the spiritual father of what is an amazing thing going on in the world. And I think he said, "Make is good. Makes a good thing. Dale, make it so."
Yeah.
Make it so. Martha says, "Make it's a good thing."
It's a good thing. And thanks for the Maker's Notebook. Now, can we get this online?
We want to see your plans. When you do your plans,
God,
you can upload
what am I
going to
do? Oh my God, what am I going to do?
Give them the
Maker Mints? Are these better be caffeinated?
Products. That's from the Maker Shed.
Are they caffeinated?
No. It's a little electronics kit in there. It's like an emergency
components.
A Mintronics survival
pack. Swiss
pack.
Army knife of.
Oh my God! Don't try to get this through the TSA, folks.
No.
Do not fly with the Mintronics survival pack
on your belt.
What is that? Well, it's anything you want it to be. Hey, that's cool. And you're selling these online as well?
Yep.
That's great. Makezine.com.
Makershed.
Or Makershed.com. Yep. Prototype and repair on the go. 60 plus. Oh, this is too cool. 60 plus useful components. This is a very Jerry Ellsworth kind of a thing.
We should send Jerry one. See what she
could make. She's going to make a robot. Wow, isn't that a neat idea? Look at that. That's so cool that you could load all this stuff in there. See, when Heathkits kind of made, they turned into something that, and chemistry sets too. You just can't do anything. It just kind of,
Oh yeah, no, they're baking soda.
Yeah, let's go back to the days when you could actually hurt yourself.
Right, exactly. That's our goal.
That's our motto. Danger. It's no fun if it doesn't blow up. That's the point. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate it. Really nice to see you. And we'll make this a little TWiT special at twit.tv/specials.